Thank you all very much for a few minutes here to indicate the support of the business community of Kentucky. I want to thank Senator Thayer and the interim committee. They did the heavy lifting on this by doing a lot of the work and listening to the actuarials and all this summer. And we know that was tedious at times, but the League of Cities and the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce have been highlighting this problem with unsustainable benefits for several years. And so we're glad to be at this point where a real difference can be made. I offer my comments today with a great respect for the public employees who give all or part of their careers to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We need them. They help us sustain our quality of life in this state, and we have great respect for them. And we feel like this is in the interest of our current employees and retirees to shore up their pension systems and to also plan for the future of the state. Last Friday, we held a news conference over the Capitol, and over 50 business groups have come together to support Senate Bill 2. And I was eager to speak on their behalf. And you might say, well, is this a normal business Chamber of Commerce type issue? In one sense, it's not. But when we realize that the financial stability of the Commonwealth of Kentucky is on the line, and when we realize that businesses pay 40% of the taxes in this state and have a target on their backs if more bills come due, then obviously we have an interest in the outcome of this type of measure. Our top priority at the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce for the last several years has been public education. The reason I mention that is because our urgent priority for this session is this pension bill. And we've gone around the state talking to Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce saying we've got to do something about this pension bill in this session. Because if we don't, it will continue the downward spiral in Kentucky where education gets smaller and smaller piece of the loaf. Higher education has been hurt. There was testimony yesterday here about how higher education has been hurt with the struggle to pay the bills on Medicaid and public employee pensions. The interim task force has taken some heat on the editorial pages around Kentucky for not having paved the way and pointed out a specific funding source. We support what the interim committee did because they put together a road plan. And first things first, if we adopt the road plan in this session, then it's the natural order of things to come back in the 14 session, as Senator Thayer has described, and make those tough decisions on how you pay for this or that. You can't do it irresponsibly right now, but clearly this is an issue that has to have bipartisan support in this legislature so that we have a roadmap and we know what the intent of the legislature is. Just last week, the day before our news conference, Standard & Poor's released their information that made front page news the day of our news, well, Saturday, because we pointed it out in our news conference, and S&P has now lessened their outlook. They had a stable outlook on the bonds, Kentucky bonds, and they reduced that from stable to negative. And they went at some length to point out that it was because of pensions. And they said if they see meaningful action by the legislature now, that their outlook on our bonds could improve sooner rather than later. So we're here to say it's urgent, that we support the bipartisan work of this committee. And I pointed out Friday in our news conference, this isn't just the opening volley from the business community or some special interest saying this is how we'd like for the world to operate. We're supporting the bipartisan compromise where Democrats and Republicans, House and Senate, sat down and did that hard work. We're supporting that. It's not exactly what we would have written. We would have preferred a 401k. We prefer to have a couple of private employers on the pension board, bring that perspective to the pension decision process. But we have what we have in Senate Bill 2. It's the art of the doable, and we support it very much. Our main message is this is urgent, and we really hope that this session will be successful by passing this reform. Our second message would be, very briefly, let's don't water it down. Let's don't take out that COLA provision. Let's don't take out the cash hybrid deal. If the only provision that got passed or made it to through the bodies here was that we've got to pay the bill, you know, what does that really say? We all know that. So that would be watering it down in a way that, frankly, we'd have to oppose it because you haven't done anything, you know. So we encourage you to take the whole package that the task force has put before us. We need to do it now. Let's don't water it down. That would be our message right now. so that we can then focus on the things that are, I think most of us would agree, are the priorities of this state, and that's education, infrastructure, economic development. So thank you all for listening to us, and we hope you'll approve this.